It's your boy Zay-P, Zay-P the I am. I am that I am, as you are that you are, for we are all that we are. From the individual to the many, from the many comes the all, and the all is one. And so your boy's back at it. Be sure to check me out on Instagram, YouTube, Zay-P the I am, or you can hit up the Facebook page at facebook.com/im.zayp. That's where you want to go, where you can check me out, where I'm doing weekly lives, as well as you can book me for private one-on-one sessions, mentorship, coaching. Came in big time today to really go in deep and drop some heavy jewels on me. Just going to tap and connect to the energies, and then I will let my I am essence come forth, and I will speak to you from that channeled state on this particular topic. So bear with me a moment while I attune. Welcome back, beloveds. And so today, the message that was delivered to Zay, the message that's been coming through for him, and the message that is coming through for the collective is one on privacy and transparency. Now, it may not be a secret to all or some or any of you at this point in time. The current phase that human society is in within your global structure is one of a technological age. You're in many technological advancements, and that's brought different conversations to the forefront. One of the biggest conversation has been this conversation on privacy, particularly privacy within the public eye. Now, when we talk about privacy, we speak of all of these new technological companies, all of these new ways of being within the cultural society sphere, whereas you might have had institutions like banks and media outlets and education, political systems. Now things have been digitized and they're moving online. You're getting institutions like digital currency, PayPal's, the Venmos, Bitcoin. You're getting new platforms to engage in besides just the news or actual media outlets. You're getting social media. You're getting places where you can share your own insights, your own truths, your own perspectives in contrast to others and in contrast to the world around you. With that has come many challenges and many ethical, obligatory reviews and discussions all around the idea of privacy, the idea of data collecting and data sharing by these sites and conglomerates, and how they're using the people as the capital, using your information and your time and attention as the commerce for building bigger and bigger networks within their empire. That said, this is not to say these people are good or these people are bad or what they're doing is bad, but it has brought forward this conversation of privacy, and with good reason. We are from an age, we are from a cultural tradition where typically the world has never been so interconnected. The world has never been so easy to access and engage with on a person-to-person basis and in the macro scale globally. Never has people in America, in the States, been able to consume content and consume the news and the media from faraway lands like China before. Never have we gotten so close to the politics of various locations within the world. Never have we had so much personal insight to many individuals within the collective just due to what people are sharing themselves individually online, things of this nature. And so with that comes the access to the information and the ways in which this information is used. And many of us who enjoy these services, who enjoy the convenience, the comfort, the ease of use, the way it allows us to connect with friends, the way it allows us to share ourselves, many of us have accepted the trade-off many not knowingly, some more knowingly than others, but there has been a trade-off, and the trade-off continues to widen. There continues to be more and more need to give, or rather to relinquish one's own privacy. Where even from the celebrity influencing sphere, where privacy was always in question, with ideas like paparazzi, with institutions like news media, where they would cover such aspects as entertainment icons and pop stars, and just the culture of celebrity in general. They have been dealing with this issue of privacy for a while now, and for as long as that was cornered to their sphere of the world, to their sphere of influence, we, the rest of the world, was not really concerned with that argument. But that argument was steadily building and steadily growing into the entire collective. So here we are at a phase in our growth and evolution where it becomes a very major talking point for the collective with regards to what are our beliefs, what are our views, and what are our values with regards to privacy and transparency. See, the need for privacy from the individual perspective and comes due to our own cultural structures that have the mindset of the value of privacy, the value of keeping one's secret in the home, not airing one's dirty laundry, reverent ideas like the most holy being the ones who suffer in silence, where these ideas may be a fallacy. They have become cultural norms. The thought that people do not speak or complain, or those who speak and complain and share their difficulties are the more painful, difficult ones to deal with. But those who keep quiet and suffer in silence and struggle on their own are the ones who are revered. And so as we have been adapting and accepting such truths and ideologies over the course of history, we have gotten to this place of secrecy within our culture, of honoring the secrecy. And there's nothing wrong with secrecy per se, to the extent that you're keeping your privacy because it is your own affairs, your own concerns. It is not something that you wish or you care to share with others who are not within that sphere of your life. That is perfectly reasonable and understanding. But however, the idea of secrecy morphed over times and became more of, this is where the shadows, the hidden realm lies. And as many people stuffed and shoved and repressed all of their toxic energy into these darkened corners, into these secret lives, these secret aspects of themselves, the idea of privacy became even more touted as a necessity in our culture. Now, that said, now, with where we are at, that brings us to a head, that brings us to a collision in the public spectrum as far as the need for privacy versus the need for transparency. According to many companies and conglomerates and corporations, there is more need for transparency because they desire to continue to capitalize off the information, off the individual, off of that digital traffic that they receive via your privacy. As most do know, especially with services that are free, they are trafficking in data. They are trafficking in your personal information. This is how they are making their profits when they are not charging you per se for the fee. And some of these corporations are charging you and still using your data to make additional profits on top of that. So the rabbit hole goes deep in that spectrum. But for them, their arguments being, this is why we need more transparency. We need less government regulations, this, that, and the third. And then looking at the entire public spectrum with the phase that we've just come through in the 2020 and now moving into 2021, now really bringing in and descending these energies, we're still dealing with many of the reverberations and after effects from a lot of what occurred in 2020 as it is. But this energy began moving even prior to 2020. 2020, yes, was very difficult for the collective overall, but it was much needed, very necessary to bring up a lot of dark. And that is not to say that process is complete just because we've gotten through one rotation around the sun. The fact of the matter is 2021 is going to continue that energy, continue carrying it through. But the doors have been opened and we are now in a position to create more from conscious choice. And with that comes looking at this argument and this idea of private versus transparent. See, before we can even begin to tackle the public debate, the public discussion, and decide and discern how we move forward as a collective, we must all get very comfortable with what our values and our truths are regarding privacy and transparency. The time has come, brothers, sisters, my friends, loved ones, beloveds. The time has come for us to really start to take a look at our lives and the things that we are hiding from ourselves, hiding from our loved ones, hiding from the world around us. And it's time to start to own our truths, to own ourselves, to own all aspects. See, much of what has been hidden and what is hidden due to ideas of judgments. What will other people think? It's hidden because of self-judgment. You've heard the voices over years from your parents, from your teachers, from authority figures. That's right. This is wrong. Don't do that. That is bad. And meanwhile, through all of this programming, we have been conditioned to repress and to hide and to feel various aspects of ourselves as wrong, when the truth of the matter is anything of the true self could never be wrong. Although it may not agree or resonate in somebody else's field of truth, does not mean it is wrong. And when the person whose truth that belongs to represses that due to fear, due to fear others will judge them, due to shame, blame, self-criticism of themselves, due to all of these other conditioned ways of thinking that they are no good or unworthy for having this particular truth, they shove it into the corner, into the darkness, and try to hide it away. Slap a sticker over it, call it privacy. I need my privacy to hide this. We even teach our children that from childhood, right? Bodies are not to be shared and are to be covered and are to be hidden. These are our standards of decency. And while, yes, that has its place, and there's a reason for that, especially with children, bodies are private and precious and sacred, and we want to teach these lessons. At what point does that lesson became toxic, became a thing to fear and become shamed over our bodies? We went from covering our bodies out of respect and in reverence of ourselves and to each other to covering our bodies because it is shameful and it is wrong, and the human body is something to be ashamed and run away from and hide, right? And so we create a culture that worships and will revel in watching people die on the television screen, but will flip out to see a naked woman walking down the street. When this, in actuality, is one of the truest, freest expressions of being human there is. To be in one's own skin, living, being that which one is. And so, with that, The time has come for us to really start to look at our own truths and our own secrets and the things that we are hiding and the things that we are fearing and the things we are afraid of being exposed and the ways that we are ashamed of ourselves, and start to transmute this energy. It's time to dig this up and start to deal with it, because this argument, this discussion is going to get bigger. The information coming in is saying this conversation is going to be pushed further into the public spectrum, because it is time for the collective to deal with this. But before we even get to that place, us individually need to start to deal with this. I cannot say which is the proper and appropriate choice, or what is the proper and appropriate measurement and medium for everybody, for every individual, or for the collective. But what I will say is that we all need to begin to look at this question and start to answer it for ourselves individually. We all need to begin to recognize the need for more transparency in our personal lives and in the world. We need to recognize the need for healing, the need to release shame, the need to release repression, the need to offer compassion and healing to those who may have had traumas that have caused them to become the perpetrators who were once upon a time victims. Much of that happens in the dark, in the shadows, behind the closed door of secrecy and privacy, because all of this trauma is happening behind the scenes. And so when we start to expose and allow the light to enter into the room, into those darkened areas, and have to begin to truly look at this, and not to just criminalize and tear down those who are damaged and flawed and now perpetrators, but to actually understand the root causes and how we can begin to heal ourselves and heal our culture and heal our society. To heal our world, we have to start looking in these deep and darkened areas, in these corners where we hide and seclude ourselves, our truths, behind the wall of privacy and secrecy. Now, that being said, this is not to say truth is always the appropriate course for action. Yes, there's always need for truth in all aspects, but the way truth is introduced, how truth has come upon those who step into truth, that happens in their own time, their own divine lineage and leaning into. So we will not judge that process here, but what we will say is that the idea of becoming more transparent in our personal everyday lives is what we are all being invited to, because transparency is going to be pushed upon us from the public, from the outside. And if we are not ready to deal with it internally, at home, right in our own everyday lives, how will we ever withstand and maintain as the public sphere begins to change and shift this? We all will be needed to speak out on these matters in future, as we have in past, such as when there were votes for various public initiatives across the European statesides and here in the United States. There have already been, as I stated, previous discussions, and that discussion is further going. But with regards to all of that, until we, the individuals, begin to take our time and really look at this idea of privacy versus transparency, and start to look at where we need to expose some light into our own darkness, where it is time to start exposing ourselves and sharing more of our truths, sharing more transparently, whether that be our vulnerabilities, whether that be our wrongdoings. We individually step to the plate in answering these questions, then collectively we will be better suited to understand how to begin to tackle the issues of privacy versus transparency within all of the ways we interact with the world around us. Make no mistake, there are forces on both sides of the table that are pushing their own agendas. This issue will continue to be a bit of a hot button, and it will continue to be manipulated by those in power for their own good. Many of the corporate conglomerates will be pushing for transparency for the sake of profit, and in which case we need to understand how much transparency is okay for us and is not okay from us. And we cannot be acting from a place of fear when these choices come due upon us. For when we act from that place of fear, we make rash choices and rash decisions. We do things that is hasty and that is not in service of our greatest good. But if we can be okay in our own transparency in everyday life and the amounts of privacy we do have and we do want to maintain, then we will have the answers we need to know how to move forward with the public issues and the ways that the powers that be try to manipulate it. So in essence, to avoid the powers that be manipulating this burgeoning new thought that is coming forth for the collective, this new invitation and this new aspect of disclosure, we individually need to tackle these issues right at home, right within. It's time for us to get right with ourselves and to get right with our truths. And that is the hardest lesson to take in for me personally, because I, like everyone else, have my own truths and have my own issues that we all try to keep hidden away. We all want to show our best and brightest sides. And the truth of the matter is, all aspects of us come in all different shades, and it is time for us to own all of it, to heal the broken parts and to bolster the brighter parts. And we cannot do that without transparency. And so the need for transparency is arising and is being pushed upon the public, we need to become better balanced with the idea. And we need to recognize where we stand and what is our truth when it comes to the public discourse. Because in the current state, the collective consciousness is in a very fearful place when it comes to transparency. And those who are in power and those who are manipulating the situations for their own goods are going to be using that fear and are going to be using other machinations to kind of control our collective thought. It is time we take back control of the collective thought by starting with controlling our individual thoughts. Getting ourselves together allows the collective to become pulled together, unified, whole as one. So that is the message for today. I hope you take what resonates, you leave what doesn't. And if anything does resonate, please share the message, share the love. Again, it's your boy Zay-P. You can hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/I am Zay-P. If you want to book a one-on-one session or do some coaching and mentorship work with me, I work with all those on their awakening journey and all those stepping into their more aligned higher states. So